It's Neurodiversity Celebration Week, and I'm taking a chance to have a chat with some friends and colleagues. And today, Jared Carpenter is a PhD student here at the John Innes Centre. So, Jared, what does neurodiversity mean to you?
Well, to me, it means everyone, like not just in society, but as an institution or whatever. Everyone's minds work differently, and everyone has different needs in terms of how they perceive or cope with different things. So we shouldn't have like a one solution fits all approach.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so we can understand that we're all sort of different, we're all individuals, but we process things perhaps and understand things in slightly different ways. How does that apply to you? Would you call yourself neurodiverse?
Yes, I have autistic spectrum disorder, along with some other conditions, which means that the way I perceive the world and social situations be perceived as being different to the social norm.
Yeah, okay, and when did you first realise that perhaps you processed and understood things differently from other people?
I suppose it was like when you move after primary school, I suppose. I mean, before then, other people may have noticed different things, but I myself didn't know. And before then, it was really difficult for me to remember.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that's because when we get to high school, we're sort of forced into this channel and everybody is expected to behave the same way and do things the same way?
Yes, and it's because of that I couldn't cope with it, and I left high school after a few months. I was out of education for a whole year until I got moved to a special educational needs school.
Okay, where they sort of understood what was happening and what worked
Yes.
for you. And clearly your education went really well, because here you are, a PhD student, right? An internationally renowned research institute. So you've had some educational successes. Those things didn't hold you back.
Well, I didn't want to hold me back. It took a while to get back on my feet. That's why I was a mature student. I started my university course when I was 23. So I did my A-levels A-levels before then, but there was a gap. So I did my A-levels later than when people usually do.
Yeah, okay. So how do you find it working here? Is that almost sort of back to high school and difficult and trouble, or is the environment here kind of inclusive and welcoming?
The environment here is much nicer than the high school, the hustle and bustle and the noise sensations you get at a high school. It's a lot friendlier. And the different kinds of people that you meet here, it's really special.
That's good. And is there an understanding, do you think, within the institute that we have this diversity and that we need perhaps to accommodate the ways that different people kind of process and understand things?
Yes, I've noticed that since we started high school, all the way back in 2006, the understanding of conditions like autism has improved, but there is still a way to go to spread awareness of autism. Because so you still have people have they harbor misconceptions.
Okay, yes, so people sort of know the word,
Yeah.
but they perhaps don't really know kind of what that means. And I guess it's diversity, right? That's what it's about. You can't assume that just because somebody has got autism spectrum disorder, they're all the same.
And I try to do that because I work with the Norfolk County Council to develop a training program for all their staff, which has since become mandatory. Because they will work with a lot of people, because they have a lot of support services, and they will meet a lot of people who are neurodiverse.
Yeah, oh, that's great, and it's really useful actually when organisations like that take on board the experience of people who get it, right, and just read it in a book, kind of live with this thing day to day. There must be ways that we can improve things to make it easier. Are there simple things that your friends and colleagues in the institute could do to make things a little bit easier, more accessible for you?
Simple things, sort of like trying not to hold things or do things in environments which could overstimulate the senses. I have some hypersensitivities to some sound and some light conditions. Some people think it's even more pronounced. Some people have hyposensitivity as well. So being aware of that could be an issue depending on what kind of rooms where you're having meetings and that kind of thing. Giving prior warning for like when you're well, yeah, don't spring things up as much as you can. Try and give prior warnings if you're gonna. There's going to be like a very important meeting coming up, or there's like something that you have to do by a certain time. Make sure that you are aware.
Yeah, so just sort of giving you a bit of notice so you can kind of plan and get yourself ready.
Because people like me, well, I think myself including, change can be quite a difficult concept as well. So helping transitions is also very important, because it's difficult enough, I think, for anyone to go from one different living situation to another, but that can be quite enhanced if you are autistic or neurodiverse.
Okay, that's interesting, and I think some people perhaps sometimes a little bit nervous about kind of approaching this. Would you prefer people just to come ask you and say, look Jared, I'm running this meeting, are there things that I can do in the room that will make it better for you? Or should people just assume that we should keep stimulation down, keep the noise down, control the lighting a little bit? Should we do it for everyone, or do we just come ask people?
I think a combination of both. It's always, I think for me personally, it's always nice to be asked. And I also know that sometimes things can't be helped. You can prepare on trying to mitigate situations, but sometimes there's a limit on what you can do. So in that sense, it's always useful to ask or warn about things.
Yeah, and you're obviously quite open about your university. You're having this conversation with me now. What about people who perhaps aren't so much? Maybe there's still a bit of a stigma attached, I think, for some people, and they don't really want to talk about it. Are there ways that people kind of approach those conversations?
Yes, you could, in like your lab meetings or group meetings, that kind of thing, you could just raise the topic in general without being specific to people. So like raise the idea and talk about these things without having to call anyone out. That could be. It's also quite nice to know that people around you are aware of these things and are willing to help. To an environment and where you feel comfortable.
Kind of creating that environment where people feel comfortable to ask if they want a bit of a change, and that's not seen as some kind of affront. Yeah, it's fine actually to be something different next time. Yeah, find the correct move. So we've talked a bit, Jared, about some of the kind of problems, is perhaps too strong a word, but some of the sort of difficulties in access. Are there advantages? Do you think that your neurodiversity makes you a better scientist?
That's a very good question. Well, all I can say is I wouldn't change who I am for the world. What I have and it kind of shapes who I am and the way I view things. And yeah, diversity, having neurodiversity doesn't mean that you have a diversity of thoughts and ideas. And the way I approach things is going to be different to other people, but that, in science, that's exactly what you need.
Yeah, get that sort of different point of view. One of the things that I love about working here is the huge range of diversity in terms of gender and ethnicity. There's loads of different languages spoken here, and I guess that neurodiversity is just part of that package. And we have the kind of wider range of kind of views and thoughts about things. Have you found that other people really value your diversity in that way and will say to you, wow, I never thought about it that way? Right? And you did that perhaps because you have this PhD.
Yeah, a few times that has actually happened. Sometimes it's the way I might think about the situation. Just it's normal for me, but for other people it won't be, and it forces people to think a bit outside the box. Also, the way thinking about things the way I do has helped to shape some of the way things are done at educational institutes that I've been at. I was one of the first people at my sixth form to kind of being able to do it part-time then go into it full-time, because they were very much like, if you're going to be a sixth form student, you need to be there full-time. But in doing that, it can work if you get people into it.
Yeah, and it sort of comes back to the thing that we said before, isn't it, about there's one way that we do things, right, and that's the way we do stuff. And I guess in the education system that's kind of inherent, and thankfully thanks to people like you that's breaking down a bit. But also I guess there's a risk of that in science. And we hear about these big paradigm shifts in science, don't we? There's one way, this is definitely the way, that's right. And actually the way we progress is for people to step back and say, is it? And to kind of question and take different approaches to things. So it seems to me that it's really valuable that we embrace that diversity of thought and processing so that we can get those kinds of changes. So you're working in, I can see it's the School of Mathematics on your lanyard there. And I guess there's perhaps a bit of a cliche stereotype that people on the autistic spectrum are great at maths. Is that true, do you think, or can we just throw that out the window?
It is a perceived thing. It is true that you do find that many people with autism do like mathematics because of the idea that it's a certain subject. There's not a lot of room for kind of subtleties and subtext and that kind of thing. That's why sometimes English or literature can be more of a challenge. But again, that's not everyone. I've known people with autism who are great at art and hate maths. So it's not all the time, but you will meet a lot. You will meet people with autism. I know I've got colleagues who are autistic and who are also maths PhD students and work with maths. So maths is a very good. It's a nice environment for.
Yeah, I guess that idea of control and being able to plan stuff. Numbers are numbers, and we kind of know how they behave, and there's a right answer at the end of the day. It's perhaps kind of appealing.
Unless you do chaos theory, then that goes out the window.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said that, because absolutely, we know that once we drill down into these models, that all disappears.
And the thing about science is very fluid. It's quite good learning why it's bloody fluid dynamics, but the things that we know are right now, in the future won't be. I mean, think about the knowledge that we had as a planet 200 years ago, and what we knew was right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really nice quote. We should finish on that, I think. Thanks ever so much for meeting and having this chat, Jared, about neurodiversity for the celebration week. And as Jared said, what we know for certain at one time isn't certain in the future, and I think that's just as true about the way that we accept and embrace diversity as it is about the science that we conduct here at the John in the Centre.